Good morning, Keller Williams. We got about 5 minutes before we're going to get started here, about 5 minutes out. So just a heads up, grab a refill of your coffee and tell the dog to stop barking. Actually, the dog can bark if you're on a webinar. I can't hear you anyway. So we will get started here in about 5 minutes. Do go ahead and grab your cell phone. Make sure you have that with you because we're going to walk through the app live, and that way you guys can be following along with your cell phone as well. So 5-minute warning. See you shortly. All right, guys, coming up on 9 o'clock. So welcome here. Happy to have you guys, Austin Northwest Market Center. Obviously, I wish I could be there because I like traveling and seeing all of your faces and getting to shake hands and hug all the ones that I know and get to know those of you that I have not yet met. And yet, today's going to be via Zoom. So real quick introduction, those of you that I haven't met, if you're a newer agent or you didn't get to meet me when I came in last time, my name is Marty Miller. I am your regional technology trainer for South Texas. I live here in Katy, Texas with my wife. We have twin 5-year-old daughters, and our third daughter is on the way. So little Lily May will be here August 19th or thereabouts. I've been in real estate for 6 years with Keller Williams, started off as an individual agent, worked my way onto a team within about 3 or 4 months of joining, was a buyer's agent, became a listing agent, moved up to become the vice president of expansion. We opened our second office. I came back to be the VP of sales and then ultimately the president of that company. We were a top 15 team for the 4 years that I was on that team here in Houston. From there, I became a productivity coach for a market center and did that for about 1.5 years. And then as of the first of the year, like I said, became your regional technology trainer. So definitely happy to be here and happy to work with you guys. Housekeeping real quick. So you guys are on a Zoom webinar. Zoom webinar is a little bit different than the Zoom meetings you may be used to. Obviously, you can tell I can't see your camera. You can see me, but I can't see you. No one else can see you either. And you are automatically muted. So you don't have to worry if the kids are being rambunctious in the background, if the dog's barking. My favorite is my yard guys come. They like to blow on the patio, all the leaves off, and it makes it really loud. So they did that yesterday, so we don't have to worry about that being interrupted today. But if you do have questions, if you look down at the very bottom of your screen, you're going to see a couple of different things. One is 2 little speech bubbles that say Q&A. That's a great place to post your questions, so I can help work through those and get those answered. There's a lot of things that are happening in the chat, so I always prefer that if possible, you ask your questions in the Q&A. In addition, if you look down at the bottom there, you're going to see a participants box or a little button. If you click on participants, you should then see your name, and if you hover over your name, you have the ability to raise your hand. Everyone show me you know how to do that by raising your hands. Let's see everyone put your hands up. Put them up real high. Wave them in the air like you just don't care. There you go. Okay, so we got about the majority of you got your hands up, figured out how to use that button. Awesome. So let's go ahead and put those down right now. And that way you learn how to lower your hand, and that way I know that you don't actually have a question. All right, just so I know you did it, let's go ahead and raise them up one more time. Put your hands up in the air so I can see you do it. All right, if you are on my regional training, you've already heard this joke, but if not, you just learned how to raise the roof virtually. So there you go. If you're doing Zoom webinars in the future, feel free to use that joke. You guys can go ahead and lower your hands and we will get started. Today we're going to be talking about the KW Consumer app. KW Consumer app. Someone throw in the chat, what kind of app is it? Someone go ahead and type in the chat, what kind of app are we talking about today? The KW what app? Consumer app. Raj, you are 100%. Thank you. This is the consumer app. Sharmila is already on point. She says it is for our clients. Yes, absolutely. So here's the deal, guys. I've had several kind of misunderstandings with agents when they feel like this is an app that they should have functionality as a KW agent within. And it is not. It wasn't built for KW agents. It was built for your consumers. So first things first, if you haven't actually downloaded the app, go to your app store, your Google Play Store, wherever that is, go ahead and download the app. Now, the first time you download it, you're going to have to sign in. And if you've never created an account, you're going to have to do that first. The consumer app does not recognize your Keller Williams Command, Connect, or KW.com email and password, right? So you have to create a new account, just as any one of your consumers would have to create a new account on the app. So definitely want you guys to do that so that you can be then using the app. We're going to talk a lot about what it looks like to have a branded app today, how to send out your branded link via text, email, social media, and we're going to work through that as well. So real quick, I'm going to move into sharing my phone. Give me 1 second to set that up. And I already have that plugged in. Why is it telling me I need to do that again? All right, and in just a second, you guys will be able to see my screen and we'll actually walk through the app together as a group. So one more time, share, here we go. And all right, so you should now be able to see my phone. You can see that's what the KW app looks like. It's that white background with the red letters. It's gonna say KW. When you're in your app store, Google Play Store, you're gonna be looking for KW Realty in order to download it. Once you come into the app, if you have signed in previously, then it's just going to open up. If not, you're going to have to, again, create that account and then log in from there. First thing I want to make sure that you guys have, if you have downloaded this app previously but not updated it, it's going to be real clear and easy to know, because you're going to see in the bottom right-hand corner, your button is not going to say more. It's still going to say YOU or you. The first version of this app, when it came out, they had that button called You, and then they have recently changed the name to More. I think it makes a little more sense with the button saying More than You, and so I appreciated that they tweaked that slightly. So if your button still says You, you want to go into your app store and update the app. Otherwise, if it looks like mine, you have the most updated version. Now, when you click on More in that bottom right-hand corner, this is where you're going to learn if the app has been branded to you or not. This is also how the consumer can figure out whether the app they downloaded or loaded from your text, your email, whatever it was branded to you as well. You can see at the very top of the screen, it says Your Agent, Marty Miller, with my license number, my headshot, and the quick and easy way to actually view my profile. If you did not have an app, a branded app, it would look like this. So yours would actually say, Find a Keller Williams agent. The first time you go to download the app, you're going to have to brand your consumer app to you as an agent. So you're going to want to go in. The first thing that you would do is click on Find an Agent. Now, guys, I told you I live here in the Katy area. So if I was looking for an agent as a consumer, right, I would type in, all right, I'm looking for an agent in Katy, Texas, because I can search by name or location. And there's Katy, Texas. And I would just start scrolling through. Now, let me ask you, I don't know all the agents on this screen. I know a couple of them. But based upon what you can see on my screen right now, which one of those agents are you most likely going to do business with? Throw it in the chat. Which one of those agents are you most likely going to do business with? All right, Raj says Vince. Christina says the one with the picture. Yep, there we go, right? So first things first, guys, if you have not gone into KW Command and KW Connect and built out your marketing profile within those two platforms, please, please, please go do that. Because when you start sharing the app and you haven't uploaded your headshot into your marketing profile, you're going to look like all the other people on this screen that aren't Vince, right? So make sure that you get your headshot loaded in. If you're searching for an agent by name, it's simple. You're just going to start typing in their name. So if you have just now downloaded the app and you want to brand your app to yourself, then you would just go ahead and search for yourself. You can see my marketing profile has been completely filled out. So I've got my name, my team, my license number, my headshot. I've even got in the middle there my team logo, the address of my market center, the website for my team, my specialties and designations, and then obviously mobile, office, email, and my full bio that I've typed into those marketing pieces. So I didn't check on any of the other ones of those, but I would guess if they didn't have their headshot loaded, they probably didn't have any of the rest of this loaded. And so again, guys, if we don't think that our consumers are researching us as agents, we're kidding ourselves. So don't send them an app that's going to make you look bad. Send them an app that's been fully built out with regards to all of your marketing information. In order to secure me as their agent, they're just going to click on the Get in Touch button at the very bottom. And then it's going to say, this designates Marty Miller as your new agent. And they would click on Confirm. And then they're going to get the success screen that says, all right, cool, Marty's now your agent. They're going to help you find the right home or sell the current, the current one. You can contact them anytime through the app. Now, guys, this is not a buyer's rep. This is not a listing agreement. Okay, so just want to make sure that was clear. Someone brought that up during the last class that I taught. This does not, it's very easy for me. You just saw how easy it was for me to remove myself as my agent. So again, realize that this is a tentative relationship at best, and we want to continue to foster this relationship through continued communication and obviously eventually signing some paperwork if we haven't already, especially with things like the buyer's rep. All right, so we've now gone through and we have seen how easy it is to brand their app. I will say this, when you're sending out the links via text, via email, via social media, and they are clicking on your link, one, I don't always trust the consumer. A lot of times consumers are like, yeah, I got your app. And I'm like, are you sure it's my app? And they're like, yeah, it's my app. Here's what I would do, guys. If I were you, I would take a screenshot of this screen and I would send it to my clients. And I would say, hey, I just want to make sure that your app looks like my app. Do you see my face at the very top of the screen when you click on more? And then they can easily say, yep, that's what mine looks like. Or no, mine just says, find your agent. And then you can walk them through the process of finding you, getting in touch with you, and then securing you as their agent. Okay, so I'd say basically trust but verify. Sometimes the links, there've been a few glitches, and sometimes the consumer doesn't know that they're supposed to actually click on the link to download your app. They just go straight to the app store and they think they're good. So I would always trust but verify that your consumer actually has A, downloaded the app, and B, connected it to you, okay? All right, next, let's talk about searching on the app. Searching on the app. You guys are a lot of chat. Let's see, who's on here that I know? Alice. Alice, do you mind playing with me real quick? I'm gonna click on allow to talk. Hopefully you don't have barking dogs in the background. I just unmuted you. There you are, Alice. Hey, so talk to me, Alice. Where, if I said, hey, you just won the lottery and you can move anywhere in the US, but I want to know what major landmark or place that you're like, man, I would really love to live near that. What would it be?
Oh, that's hard. I'm trying to think. Okay, so I want to live near the Domain.
Near the Domain. That's in San Antonio?
No, that's in Austin.
Austin, okay. So I'm gonna put in Domain. Is it D-O-M-A-I-N?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna put comma, Austin.
Austin.
Okay, and I'm gonna search. Is that where the domain is, Alice?
Yes, that is.
Did I put in an address for the domain?
Don't have an address to give you, but that looks okay. That looks right.
I don't have one either, and yet all I had to search was for domain, comma, Austin, and there it showed up, right?
Very, very cool.
Well, last time you went on vacation, where'd you go? In the US.
England.
Well, it's gotta be in the US, right? Can't be England quite yet. Tell me a local vacation you went.
I went to South Padre.
South Padre. Okay, so that's pretty easy. That's a city. I'm gonna pretend like you went to Disney World.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be nice to not have to fly to Disney World if you could just live near Disney World?
Super.
Boom. All I had to type in was Disney World, and now all of a sudden, there's not a lot of houses apparently around Disney World, but you could come up in here, and then all of a sudden, we can start seeing all the properties that are near Disney World.
Cool.
My background is high-end steakhouse management, and I used to go to Napa about once or twice a year when I worked for Perry Steakhouse. And I would love someday to live in Napa Valley. That's going to be like the 25-year plan. But Silver Oak Winery, one of my favorite wineries, right? So I could just type in Silver Oak Winery, and boom, the map transports me directly to Silver Oak Winery. And then I can do the same thing, zoom out a little bit, and then I can start seeing houses that are located near Silver Oak Winery. Guys, you want to live near the San Francisco Bridge? Cisco Bay Bridge, because you know we all like taking those pictures for our Instagram accounts. And there we go. All of a sudden now I've got the San Francisco Bay Bridge. Alice, at any point did I put in a specific address?
No, it's super.
In a specific city?
No. Well, it's San Francisco.
Right, San Francisco, sure, right? And I think I even spelled it wrong, and it still found it. Like,
that's right. That's
how smart our consumer app is. You can actually search by landmarks. So that's just one way that you can kind of work with your clients. And here's what I would challenge you. If they're using one of those other apps, right? You know the apps, Zillow, Redfin, whatever else they're using. First of all, ask them if they can search nationally. Because if they're using a local, like I don't know if Abor has an app. I know HAR here in Houston, we have an app, but they can't search for properties outside of Houston on it. So first of all, can they search nationally? Second of all, have them put something like this in their app that they're using now. Right? Have them look for San Francisco Bay Bridge. Have them look for Disney World. Have them look for the White House and see what comes up on the app that they're using. I can almost guarantee you can't search by landmark on that app that they're using. You can only search by specific address. Okay, so these are just a few ways that I'm teaching you so that when your client says, well, I kind of already have an app I like, you can start showing off some of the things that our app does that most of those don't, so that you can convert them over to using your app. All right, Alice, what's your favorite neighborhood there in the Austin area?
Oh gosh.
Alice is like,
okay, so let's go Northside Meadow, where I live.
North side?
Uh-huh.
Okay, Northside Meadow, is that correct?
Yes.
All right, is it 2 words for Northside?
Yes, no, 1 word.
1 word, okay. So we're gonna search for Northside Meadow, comma.
Leander.
Oh, Leander.
Leander.
There we go, okay. Pull that up. All right, is that Northside Meadow?
Yes, it is.
I zoom in, and there's Old Town Village. I got Westside Meadows, Central Leander, Leander Station, North Creek Ranch, right? So here's
Yep.
the other thing, guys, that we can do on the Keller Williams app. We can search by neighborhood. How often have you had people that come into town and they're like, I don't really know Austin, but I just know that Northside Meadow is a nice neighborhood. I don't really know Katy, but I've heard that Cinco Ranch is a nice neighborhood, right? So they can actually come in and say, well, I don't know. I don't want to search all of Katy because I know there's probably some nice places and some not so nice places. I don't want to search all of Austin because there's probably some nice places and some not so nice places. But I've just heard that there's certain areas or certain neighborhoods, or they've got friends that actually live in one of those neighborhoods and they want to look at houses in that neighborhood. You can see here down on the list, there's all the Cinco Ranch neighborhoods that start popping up.
Oh.
So what are those being driven by, Alice?
What do you mean being driven by? It's by Cinco Ranch.
Yeah, so next door is actually providing those neighborhoods for us. So that's the cool thing, is that that's where we're getting that information from, is via Nextdoor. So I showed you guys how you can search by neighborhood. I showed you how you can search by landmark. Now, obviously, it doesn't have to always be super creative. Alice, I appreciate you volunteering and being a part there. I'll let you off the hook. I'll mute you so you can go back to doing whatever you were doing there and not have to worry about being on point the entire time. So I can search for a standard home just by clicking on, all right, let's say I want to search for, I'm in Austin, Leander area right now. Let's say I'm looking for a house that's going to be somewhere between 250 and let's say 450,000. So you see, I'm just clicking on each one of those buttons and I'm dragging the slider left and I'm dragging the slider right, okay? So Rosie, we'll get to feed in just a second. So we're looking at price right now. And so I just did the slider from 250, it got to 460. Let me just finger that over one more time. There's 450, okay? Next, I can click on bed. So how many bedrooms does this house have? And guys, I'm about to have 3 daughters and we need at least 4 bedrooms. So I'm gonna put 4 plus. I can click on property type. Well, I'm really just looking for a single family home there. And then I can click on more. And it's going to start showing me other options that I can come through. So I've got a purchase price from 250 to 450, 4 bedrooms, single family. Then I can get into listing type. Lori, this answers your question. It's only showing actives because it defaults to only show actives. However, if I wanted to see pendings, I could by checking the pending box. I'm not sure why somebody would want to search for pendings. It sounds to me like they're just looking for heartbreak, but you could put that pending in there, right? Maybe if you're looking as a realtor for your listing, you could do that. But you've also got coming soon, new construction, foreclosures, and short sales there. In addition, if you scroll up just a little bit, the app can also be used for rentals. So you can see here that I can look for homes for rent as well. So instead of for sale, I just toggled on for rent, and now it's going to change that. Obviously, my criteria was built on a for sale property, but just so you know, you can also look for rentals or leases in there as well. How many bathrooms? Well, come on, guys, 3 daughters. I got to have at least 3+ bathrooms. And then I can go through living area. We have about 2,700 square feet now, and that's made the quarantine interesting. So let's say it's got to have at least 3,500. And then I can go through the rest of those criteria and decide anything else that I would like to. Once I click on done, you can see based upon this map view, well, looks like I don't have a whole lot to choose from, but I can kind of scroll out a little bit. For some reason, price didn't stick. So let's get that back in there. And then I can see, again, that 250 to 450 price point and see, I may just not be able to move to Leander. All right, so there's a couple of them. So you can see down there at the bottom, 2 different listings that match all of the criteria that we talked about. Now, I could also say, well, you know, I know Leander kind of well, and I want to make sure that I live, you know what, I could do Leander or Cedar Park. Let me see. I'm going to click on the little draw. Do you see the pencil at the top right-hand corner where it says draw? It's not a pencil, it's a finger. Let me click on that little finger, right? And it's going to say draw a line around an area to search. Well, I can say, you know what, I need to be close to the freeway because I'm going to be working in Austin. So I could do anywhere in this area and then maybe all the way over to this area. All I'm literally doing, guys, is clicking on the screen with my finger and then drawing, right? So there you could have, that's my search area. And instead of, or it might be, hey, you know what, I kind of know the school districts pretty well. And I know the elementary school I want to go to is zoned It goes to here, and then it goes here, and then it comes out here, it goes down, follows that little street. We get that little pocket, we come up, we get this little pocket, and then that, right? So that's another example of how you could go through and kind of draw on the map where they want to live. And that's just one more option that you have available within the search functions of the KW Consumer app. Last thing, raise your hand if you're like me and you're out driving around, walking around, riding a bike, I don't care where you are, and yet somewhere you see a for sale sign. What's the first thing you think? Wonder how much it's for sale, right? No matter where you are in the US, if you click on that little arrow in the top right, Joe's like, yep, I feel you, I'm the same way. That little arrow in the top right-hand corner, if I click on that, it's going to immediately take me to where I am located right now. So if that little for sale sign, now again, I still have my criteria up there at the top. So you can see it's only showing houses near me that match that criteria. But if I wanted to clear the criteria, I could just come into more and I'm going to clear the filters and then click on done. And now you can see all of the houses around me based upon where my location is. And that's driven obviously through the GPS of my phone, communicating with Keller Williams app and saying, okay, this is where you are. Now here are all the homes around you for sale. So anytime, right, guys, the reality is we're nosy. Every time I traveled to Napa, I was like, man, I'd love to live in California. The weather is beautiful. And then I would look up house prices and I'd be like, getting back on that plane and flying to Texas, right? Because the house that I have here, that's whatever, 2,700 square feet would be like a shack in California. So anytime you're traveling in the US, you're visiting family, you're visiting friends, or just you're traveling in your own area, your own city, your own neighborhood, the house around the corner goes for sale. They can pull up their KW app, click on that little arrow, as long as they're standing near it, and it's going to show the listings that are around them so they can get nosy and say, oh, it's selling for that. Oh, it's selling for this. Kind of have an idea of what it's actually selling for. So now let's go through and, oh, actually one more thing. How many of you have gone on a listing appointment and you showed up and you realized, ooh, wish I would have known the house was located next to that, right? Like didn't realize it back to a car wash. Didn't realize there were power lines back there. Didn't realize it back to the city dump. I mean, obviously that probably wouldn't happen. And I had that happen on more than one occasion. It got to the point where I started, because I went on a lot of listing appointments, I got to the point where I started using Google Earth on my actual computer to zoom in on the property address to see, okay, what's around the property? Let me get a better idea, a better feel for the neighborhood. How close am I to commercial? How close am I to, do I back to a busy street? All of those types of things. Well, here's the cool thing with our app, guys. If you click on the more button at the top right corner, okay, so you got price, beds, property type, and more. I click on that more button. You'll see I have two tabs. I've got listings, and then I've got map as a second tab. If I click on map, you'll see I now have two additional options. The default is kind of that street view, but if you want, you can click on satellite and then click on done in the top right-hand corner. Now look what our view changes to. It's literally the satellite view provided by Google, and you can see Google's logo in the bottom left there, of what's happening. So let's say you were coming to sell my house and you'd run some comps, and you had some comps that were on my street, some comps that were across the street. And you're like, wait a minute, why are the comps literally on the same street selling for double the price? Well, you could zoom in and you could start to realize, oh, that's an interesting neighborhood. Marty literally is at the north end of a kind of master plan community where there's smaller houses, right, and smaller lots. However, right across the street from him, there's all like acre lots. Look how big the lots are across the street from me, right? So this is a quick and easy way, just in my example, to show you how you can zoom in, right? What if you were going to sell, I don't know, this property, and you realize it back to not the most attractive falling down barn. So this is just one way that you guys can zoom in. And obviously you can type in any address, right? So I'm actually at our investment property, but if I typed in our actual house, you could see, all right, let me do Palm Lake Circle, and I'm gonna search, and then it's gonna take me, right? And so then you can start zooming in and say, okay, cool, well, this is the address. All right, that's where he lives. Okay, cool. Doesn't look like he has a pool, but it looks like his neighbors have a pool. Okay, now I can kind of see more about the neighborhood. So a great way for you to kind of dive in, again, that's under the More button at the top, Map, and then you can toggle between the default view or the satellite view, default or satellite, and click on Done. All right, so let's find a listing that we actually want to dive into, a listing that we might actually be interested in. So I'm going to click on this 271 in the top corner. What it does is it pulls up kind of a small view of the listing at the bottom of the screen, as you can see. However, I can kind of click with my finger and drag upwards, and then I get the full view of that actual listing. If I want to, I can just click on the down arrow in the top left, and it reduces it back down. So drag it up or reduce it back down so you can get back to your map. So I'm going to drag this one up, start walking through the listing and show you kind of what's included on this. So at the very top, obviously, you can see the photos of the home. So you can see there's 45 photos that have been loaded. And I can swipe left and start going through each one of those pictures. Below that, you can see the price. This house is listed at $269,900. Just so you know, there's some white space there between the actual price of the home and the address of the home. If there were any price decreases within the last 30 days, you would actually get to see the ability to, it would have like a little squiggle line with an arrow pointing down, and it would tell you how much that price decrease was. Christine, you might want to check the settings on your phone. You might have either GPS turned off or your Wi-Fi turned off. Both of those can cause problems with your GPS not finding your current location. On the screen, you can actually see across from the price that we have 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and 2023 square feet. Next, you'll see the actual address of the property. And then you're going to get 3 buttons. So you can see Save, Hide, and then Share. So Save, Hide, and Share. The first one, obviously, if I'm going to save, it allows me to basically favorite that property. So if I click on that heart button, you'll see that this opens my collections. And I have a collection, right? 2 of them, because I've done this class a couple times, right? Saying my favorites. So if I want to save this property to my favorites, I would just click on that button and then click on Save. And now you'll see the heart is lit up. And I'll show you, if you minimize this listing, we're going to go back to the main screen. At the very bottom, the 4th icon over says Saved. So I can click on Saved, and then I can see my collection of favorites there at the very top. And if I click on it, there's that property that I just favorited. You can see yesterday I was in a different area of Katy looking at big properties, and then prior to that, looking at another area in Katy. These are all properties that I have saved within my collection. Let's go back to that actual listing. You can see when I do save or heart a property, it shows up on the map with that little heart icon. So it's easy for me to reference it in the future. So let's click on that. And then we'll go back in. Now, how many of you have had people that are searching for properties and they're like, oh, I look at it every day and I'm just looking to see if there's anything new on my map. But I've seen everything that there is for sale right now. None of them fit what I'm looking for. But every time I look at the map, there are the same 7 houses. Well, the cool thing about our app is you actually have the ability to hide listings. So I can click on the hide button. You'll see it turns red. And now that listing is going to be hidden from the map when I, as a consumer, come to look in that neighborhood in the future. So I won't see that listing anymore. If I've already looked at the 6 listings in the neighborhood I want to live in previously and none of them match what I'm looking for, then I can just hide them. And then the next time I come in to look in that neighborhood, I'll only see the new listings that are showing up that are not the ones that I've hidden in the past. One thing that I forgot to mention, and I apologize, is the ability to actually save the search that you're looking at. So let's say that I had gone through here and I'd done the price, right? We're just going to kind of do it quickly so you can get that in there. And then, all right, 4+ bedrooms, etc. I might have even come onto the map and then I said, all right, I want to live in this little area here. I just want to be near the lakes. And all right, cool, that's the area I want to be in. The ribbon at the top right-hand corner, do you see where it says save? I can click on that ribbon as a consumer. It's going to say, okay, do you want to save this search? I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to call this Fawn Lake Homes and save. Now, again, I can come back to that heart where I'd saved my favorites. In addition to having my collections, I also have my recent saved searches. So instead of me having to go back through and put in all of that criteria every time I come into my app to look for houses, I can just say, no, I've already set up the search. Here it is. Cool. It takes me right back to that exact search that I just put in the first time. And guys, they can save multiple searches. So it might be a search for houses. At some point, my goal is to live off of Lake Travis. I'd love to be on the water with a boat slip, with a boat, with a nice house. Maybe that's a 15 or 20-year plan. And yet every now and then I dream, I just go and look at houses that are on the water at Lake Travis. I could set up my own custom search, right? But maybe 5 years from now, I'm actually going to be moving somewhere here in Katy, and I just want a bigger house, so I could have my, my dream search and then my 5-year reality search. And I could search for properties that maybe I want to keep an eye on what's happening in my parents' neighborhood because they're a little bit older, right? So I want to track values that are happening there in case, for any reason they ever ask me to sell that house, whatever that may look like. So let's go back in, and we're going to let's find that property that we got to clear our search. Hang on real quick. I'm going to click on that X at the very top so that it clears out my search. Now we can see some additional properties. So let's go back into that one that we had favorited. So I can walk you through some more information there. It took out that favorite because we canceled it. So let's just look at this one that I was looking at yesterday. So we've seen the ability now to save. We've seen the ability to hide. We also have the ability to share. That's pretty standard with most real estate apps. You can see as soon as I click on share, I can quick text anyone on my iPhone that I've been recently texting with, or I could just send it via text. And you can see it's going to say share property and then the actual URL for that property. And you could send that to anyone that you were looking to share it with, whether that's your husband, your wife, your mom, your dad, your brother, your business partner, whatever that might be. Next from there, you can see I have the full description of the property. Obviously, that's being pulled from the MLS, so the full description of the property. Someone do me a favor. Who is the listing agent on this property? Who is the listing agent, the name of the listing agent on this property? Anybody know? Veronica says it's Elite Texas Properties. That's correct. However, that's the listing brokerage, Veronica. Who's the listing agent? Guys, it's a trick question. That's why nobody's putting it in the chat, right? No, this is not my listing either, Eric. This listing belongs to somebody that works at Elite Texas Properties. However, here's the great thing, guys. When you put your consumer on the KW app, they cannot contact the listing agent for information. Who do they have to contact? You, right? They have to contact you. This is not my listing. This is a listing from some other brokerage at Elite Texas Properties. I don't even recognize that brokerage. So some brokerage here in Katy that's listed that property. However, guys, there are apps that your consumers are on right now that when they are on the app, easily and quickly will provide them the information for the listing agent. Why would you work so hard on converting a contact into a client to then allow them to use an app where they can quickly and easily just get the information they need to bypass you and go directly to the listing agent? Just one more reason. Now, obviously, you're not going to sell that reason to them, but this is another reason why you want to be kind of persistent about making sure they're on your app, because they can't, right? Like if they have a question, they got to click on Ask Your Agent, and that's me. That means I'm going to get that request for information so that I can then foster the relationship and find out what they're viewing and then give them more information, set up a showing, let's go sell the house or buy the house or whatever it may be, right? So I just wanted to show you that in Texas, we do have to provide the brokerage information and we have to provide the source. So that's Houston Association of Realtors or HAR. The listing agent is not listed, and that's a win for us in that they can't bypass us. They could go look it up, I'm sure, on some other app or some other site. However, if they're using our app, they're only going to be able to see basically the information for the brokerage. And then if they have questions, they would reach out to us, which is ideally what we want, right? We want them to be reaching out to us for questions so that we can then work with them and have the opportunity to show them and help them purchase that property. As we continue down, you can see basic home details, price per square foot, days on market, listing status, your built house and lot size. If I click on see more, I'm going to get some additional information there from the MLS as well. Now, here's another cool selling point that most of the apps that they are using don't have. It tells me that the neighborhood is Lakes of Katy. But if I don't know Lakes of Katy, then I can click on explore and say, well, tell me more about what Lakes of Katy is all about. When I click on explore, I get a new page that talks to me all about the actual neighborhood. So you can see kind of what locals are saying. You can see commute times. Now I'm going to show you there's some ways to kind of come in here and change some of these things. As far as those are 3 custom places that I have put in. Okay, so they are custom places that I have added. Your consumer can add their own custom places. I'm going to show you how to do it in just a second. Next, you have information on nearby schools. How often do we hear, don't be the source of the information, be the source of the source of information? Your KW consumer app can be the source of information. How often do they say, how good are the schools in this neighborhood? Well, I don't know. I can tell you that our app lists the scores on the app, and then you can make a decision. I could look at that junior high and say 81%, wow, that's horrible. Because I come from an area where our junior highs are ranked at 95% or better. I could come to that junior high and say, wow, 81%, that's fantastic. Because I come from an area where our junior highs are listed at 50 to 60% scores, right? So you're not making a decision on whether 81% is good or bad. You're just letting them know that our KW consumer app, anytime that you are looking at either a listing or a neighborhood, will provide you information about the local schools. It'll tell you kind of some of their scores based upon things great, it's powered by greatschools.org. And then you can also see the student teacher ratio as well. Pitney Bowes provides the actual location and then the names of those schools. So you can see both private and public. Additionally, you have what's called places. So this is powered by Yelp. If there are any nearby restaurants, grocery stores, nightlife, cafes, shopping, arts and entertainment, or fitness, they would show up with their own little icon there on the map. And then you can see just below that, it'll actually tell you what the location is. So in this case, there's a fitness center there just outside of the neighborhood. You can see it's called Cottage in the Woods. It's only had 1 review, but it was a 5-star review. So you can get more information there about the actual neighborhood. And then you can also see nearby homes for sale or homes for sale also in that neighborhood or next to that neighborhood. So that's all within the actual neighborhood page of the specific listing that we are in. And I can keep scrolling down, then I'm going to get what locals say. That's powered by spatial.ai. It's driven off of just thousands of data points. The one that I most commonly hear referenced when looking at spatial.ai, how many do you have some kind of shopper loyalty card? Whether it's like a Kroger's card or a Costco card or whatever it may be. When you signed up for that card, you had to give them your name and your address. So they know where you live and they know what you buy. I think we can tell a lot by a person based upon what they're buying at Kroger's and Costco and et cetera, right? And so that's just an example of the data points that spatial AI is using to be able to then determine, okay, what are locals saying about this neighborhood? The people that live in this neighborhood are basically blank, right? So in this case, it looks like a lot of people are buying a lot of cars and boats and athletic wear and luxury things, and they like fashion, right? Now, the average price point in this neighborhood is also like $800,000. So it probably makes a little bit of sense. For Katy, that's a lot. I know in Austin, that's like an average price point, but that's a lot here in Katy. Walkability, you can see that's a source by live by. We talked about the commute times. Now, this is on the actual listing itself. This is on the listing itself. So I can see, hey, if I lived at this house, it would be a 17-minute drive to get to the gym. If I want to work out at Lifetime, it's going to take me 17 minutes to drive there. If I want to be a real fitness nut, I could actually bike 50 minutes to get to the gym and then work out and then bike 50 minutes back. And man, if I was just training for the marathon, I could see how long would it take me to walk to the gym. It would take me 3 hours and 4 minutes. I don't know, take your running time and divide your walk time by 2 and maybe take you an hour and a half to 2 hours to run there if you were actually jogging or running. Again, the school information for this specific listing is also listed just like it was listed on the neighborhood. Then you can see upcoming open houses, activity for the home, nearby homes, and then at the very bottom of the listing is all of my marketing information and my legal, kind of all of the legal jargon. And that's on every single listing that we go through. So that's kind of a walkthrough on an actual specific listing. Now I told you I would show you where the consumer can go to look up, okay, I want to add, where do they want to live near, right? Typically it's like, I want to live near work. I want to live near my church. I want to live near the gym. I want to live near the kids' school. I want to live near, I don't know, the lake. They can come in and click on more in the bottom right-hand corner. They would then click on my account. and then they can click on places. And then you can see that there are 3 different places right there that they can put in. So they can save up to 3 locations. So let's say, let's get rid of that one. And let's say I wanted to live near a Target, right? How many of you are addicted to shopping at Target? So I could put in Target, help if I spell it right, there we go. And it's gonna pull up all of the locations for Target that are nearby. The one that I like to shop at is the one that's actually on 1960, so I could click on that. And now all of a sudden, that has become one of my places. They can also put in a specific address if they wanted to. And you saw that the one that I deleted had an address. So my old market center was located at 19708 Northwest Freeway. I could choose that as another one of my locations. And then every time that I'm in an actual listing, you'll be able to see as you scroll down, you'll get to that places section, and they can then see, okay, how far will it take me to drive to my Target and to work? You can also say, and sometimes you have clients where maybe it's a single vehicle family, and the partner has to walk to the grocery store while the other partner is at work. So they want to live within, I don't know, a 15-minute walk of a grocery store. You could then kind of see. Now take all of this with a little bit of grain of salt, especially on the drive times. Obviously, we know that depending on when they're driving, if I'm driving somewhere in Austin at 5 o'clock, like my drive time just probably doubled. So it's kind of an average, if you will. And I always tell them, use it as a rule of thumb, but not an exact when you start looking at, okay, how long will it take for drive time, bike time, and walk time? Yes, Alice, yeah, I just put in my actual work address. So 19708 Northwest Freeway. That's where my market center, where I hang my license, is located at. So you could put that in as an actual address, or choose a place, meaning a Target, a Lifetime, a church, whatever it might have been. Some other things that were on the actual listing themselves, which is pretty cool, right under Save, Hide, and Share, are the Keller Mortgage and Keller Covered buttons. So what a great opportunity for you, right? I know you're probably talking to them about Keller Mortgage and about Keller Covered, and yet I like the fact that these buttons are here because they're the ultimate CYA. Just in case I forgot to mention it, here's information about Keller Mortgage and Keller Covered right here in every listing that my client is looking at. Here's the reality, guys. We all have local lenders, and I think if you talk to your local lender, they're okay with competing. It makes them sometimes look better. I mean, if they look a little worse, then it forces them to relook at their business and see what things they might be able to do in order to compete. That's a win-win for everybody. I would hate for one of your consumers to not find out about Keller Mortgage, buy a house with your local lender, and then later on find out that you were a Keller Williams agent and had the ability to share with them Keller Mortgage, which would have saved them more money than what they paid with your local lender, and then they're frustrated with you because you didn't share that opportunity. So the app actually shares it for you. You can see right there, Keller Mortgage and Keller Covered. Easy for them to actually click on and then go to the home page for those 2 resources. In addition, at the very bottom, I think we got to it, they have the ability to calculate a mortgage payment, and they can actually see open houses as well. So they can kind of look at the sales price, put in some of those terms, and then get an idea. Now, obviously, that's principal and interest only. So they're typically not going to get taxes on there. So just be careful as they're comparing that. Obviously, your lender is going to be the best person to give them, but it's a good idea. And you see these mortgage calculators on almost any of the real estate apps that they're using as well. All right, so questions about the app so far, the search process. Let me go back. You guys, even though I asked, are still throwing it in chat. When they ask your agent, where can we see that message? Veronica, that's going to show up in your command. That's actually going to show up in command. You're going to get an alert, and it'll go through your Kelly as well. Eric, you asked, how do you unhide a property? So when you're actually in, you can go to, I'm pretty sure it's under More, and then My Account, or was it under, I know that you can, and let me see. There it is. So I actually clicked on the More button at the top right. I was using the bottom right. It's the top right More button. And then I'm going to scroll down to the very bottom, and it's going to say Show Hidden Listings. And I can click on Done. And then you could find that listing that was hidden and come in and actually unhide it, right? So you would just click on the Hide button again. That would unhide the listing for you. And let's see, Diane, how do I check if my website is correct? I'm not sure what you're asking there in the Q&A. So if you want to follow that up with some clarifying answers, we can get that question answered for you. All right, so when you're looking at the app, at the very bottom, you're going to see 5 buttons, 5 buttons. So there's search, which we just played with a lot. There's more on the opposite corner, which we've played with a lot. Saved, we showed you that's where they can look at their recently saved properties and their recently saved searches. Feed is a button that they're building out. So I'm not sure who asked it. Someone asked about feed there in the chat. Feed is kind of 2.0, if you will, like they're continuing to build out this app. In the future, you'll be able to have communications between the agent and the consumer within the feed. The agent will be able to start sending properties to the consumer and they can see that show up in their feed. So it's basically kind of communication that's essentially happening between the command platform and the consumer app. So we're still working on that. That's why you probably got an error message when you clicked on it, or it may be a blank screen. Let's look at guide. In the middle of the screen, there's a button called guide. I want you to click on that. And you can see 2 tabs show up. There is the buying guide and the selling guide. This is literally, from the consumer's point of view, what it's like to work with you when you are either a buyer with them or a seller with them. So as you scroll through, you can see, all right, here's what it looks like to buy with me. And you can see all of the steps. So the first thing we're going to do, obviously, is we're going to start our search, and then we're going to get pre-approved. We're going to tour some homes, make an offer, etc. Or you can go into the selling guide and say, okay, this is what it's like to work with me. First, you show the home, then we review the offers, then we get an inspection, then we get an appraisal, and then we close. Show of hands, how many of you agree that the listing process is only 5 simple steps? I don't see any hands going up. So I'm going to assume that all of you are paying attention and don't agree that it's 5 simple steps. You can actually click on each one of these steps and it's going to give you more detailed information within each one of these steps. And so while I appreciate the breadth of information, right? I mean, there's just a ton of stuff in here. I would think that this step, showing your home, might be broken out to 2, 3, maybe even 4 steps, right? Because first we're going to stage your home, and then we're going to prepare it for photography and videography, and then we're going to upload your home, right? Prepare your home for viewing on the MLS, and then we're actually going to start showing your home. So you can see that's just an example of steps that could be added. Here's the reality, guys. Think about how many agents are in Keller Williams right now. I think we're somewhere between 160,000 to 180,000, somewhere in there, depending on what day and who we ask. This app is being shared by all of us, to all of our consumers. So it's easy to think that there could be just as many, if not 10x, the number of consumers that have these apps from KW agents. The majority of them are going to look at the guide, and it's going to look exactly like this. How do you set yourself apart, and what's the difference when they work with you? You can customize these guides, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do next. So we're actually going to stop the phone share. I'm going to move into sharing my command screen. And when we're in command, I'm going to come into, click on consumer. It's the second to last applet on the left-hand side. I'm going to go down to consumer and click on that applet. From there, I'm taken in, I get 3 tabs at the top of the screen. So you can see landing page, agent site pages, and guide builder. Guide builder is where we want to be. So I'm going to click on guide builder. And then from there, you'll see, all right, cool. I've got the buyer's guide, which we just walked through, was 9 steps. And I've got the selling guide, which we just said was 5 steps. Now that's how many steps are currently in the guide that you have on your app. If you want to edit either one of these 2, you would just click on the pencil. Just so you guys know, we are working on it. I work with the developers for KWRI are working on the ability for agents to create additional guides. Most likely, you're only going to be able to show 2 on the app at any one time. However, think about a buyer's guide for a first-time home buyer versus a buyer's guide for a luxury property versus a buyer's guide for farm and ranch versus a buyer's guide for raw land. So the steps will be slightly different on each one of those different types of buyer. And so that's why they're working towards you guys having the ability to say, hey, I want my luxury buyer's guide to be assigned to this specific contact or opportunity. I want the first-time home buyer's guide to be assigned to this contact and opportunity. So know that that's coming in the future. Right now, it's one buying guide, one selling guide. If you click on this pencil for the selling guide, you can see here are the 5 steps that we talked about in the listing guide, the selling guide. So if I wanted to change one of these actual steps, the first thing I would do would be click on the step that I want to change. I have 4 different things that I can come through and change within this actual step. The first thing is called the card image. I don't know about you guys, I'm pretty sure there's probably not a lot of houses that look like this in Austin. There certainly aren't a lot that look like this in Katy. If I saw this on my agent's app, I might think that he was doing business in like South Florida, Miami. So you have the ability to come in and change this photo to something that maybe looks a little bit more along the lines of what it looks like to do real estate business in your area. The card title is shown here, showing your home. You can see that there. The card subtitle, I like to think of that as like the teaser. So kind of what this step is going to be all about. And then if you scroll down, you can see the workspace text. That's all the details that are happening during this step. So I talked to you earlier about, okay, it might be staging, then photography, videography, and then preparing the listing, and then actually showing the home. Those could be 3 additional steps, and then 1 that I tweak. If I wanted to add a step, I would just scroll down to the bottom of the list and click on add a step. And then I can come in, I can change the card title, the card subtitle, and the card image. And then once I do that, I would be able to go in and change the actual workspace text of the new card. You can come in and, like I said, either create new ones or change the ones that are here so that you've created a custom guide of what it's like to work with you specifically or your team specifically. Here's the other thing, guys. I would make sure that I was spending time reading through all of these steps. It's going to take some time to read through all of them, but inadvertently or advertently, whichever way, you are telling the consumer what to expect when they work with you, when they look at the guide. If they're not doing or if you're not doing what you're saying you're doing, right, via the guide, then you're not living up to the expectations that you set for them. So it's probably really important that you actually know, okay, what are the steps that are happening? Robert, I don't believe that you can actually hyperlink it. So you could put the URL like, www. whatever, but it is, as far as I know at this point, it will not hyperlink out. So you could still put the link there so that they could then manually enter it into their browser if they wanted to. But at this point, I don't believe that they can hyperlink it. You could still put the name of, like, it's the staging step, and you say, okay, the 3 stages I recommend are, Susie, Bobby, and Sarah, and here are their numbers, right? Sharmila, we're going to get to that. So you could put in names and phone numbers, and then you could still put the website, Robert, if you wanted to. Just know that obviously it's not going to be, hyperlinkable, if you will. Yeah, any link. So you could put www.google.com, but they would not be able to actually click on it from their phone and get taken into that app. So you could put it there, it's just not hyperlinked. But I would spend time, like I said, coming through and really maybe even sit down and say, what is the process of working with me as a buyer? What is the process of working with me when they are a seller? And what does that look like? So I make sure that I am delivering on the steps that I'm including in the guide. And again, guys, I'll tell you what, there's like almost 50 of you on the call right now. Some of you are going to do this, the majority of you are not. That's just 80-20 rule, right? Those of you that don't will have the exact same app that every other agent in Keller Williams has. This is a selling tool and a buying tool that you can use when you are on your listing appointment and your buyer consultation. You can literally tell the consumer, when you work with me, you will never have to worry about what's next, because I have listed out all of the steps in the buying process, all of the steps in the listing process. And here's the best part. As soon as we accomplish one of those steps, I'm going to check it off so that you can see it checked off in your app. The way that you guys do that, and this is what you're going to tell them, you can actually do this, is when you are in their opportunity, you got to make sure, first of all, that they downloaded the app using an email that you have on file for them. So the primary email of the contact associated with your opportunity has to be the email that they used when they signed on to the app. You'll know that they've actually connected with your app when you come into the opportunity that you have built for them and you click on seller profile, or if we're in the buying pipeline, it would say buyer profile. When I click on this tab, you can see Elena is connected to my app. It says registered with consumer platform, meaning that she downloaded my app. Then I have the ability to come in from the opportunity and click on manage guide. And you can see, well, here are all of the steps that are available. And let's just say uncheck them, right? And we just got started. Okay, I might have added a few steps. Maybe this one says staging your home. Okay, cool. I know the stager went out. You all had a conversation. You've got some ideas of what you're going to do to mulch and paint and pressure wash and move some furniture around or whatever. Okay, great. Well, we're done with staging. I could click on completed. When Elena looks at her app guide, there's now going to be a blue check mark next to that custom stage that I created. So she'll know, cool, we're done. Now I just need to know what's happening next. Guys, when we talk about the story, when that client calls you at 10 a.m. at night, says, hey, where are we? What are we up to? They don't really want to talk to you. They don't care about you. They care about the process, and they're just nervous. They're antsy. They're excited. They just want to know what's next. And we know some, especially like the high C, the high S, they're nervous. They're excited. They want process and order. They don't want any surprises. When you build out that guide for that person, you are winning in their world. And so when you show them that guide, when you're sitting at the buyer consultation or the listing appointment, and you ask them, did the other agent have a guide that would walk you through the entire process straight here from their phone? Or are you going to have to call them every other day to find out where we are, what we're doing, right? So don't be afraid to throw a little shade and show how much better it is of a process and experience when you work with a KW agent based upon not only all the other tools we have, but now the consumer app is just one more kind of tool in your tool belt when you're, excuse me, attempting to get them to sign on with you. Lori, absolutely. Yeah, one of the steps could be meet the team, or, okay, we're under contract, meet the transaction coordinator. So that way you know, okay, so the next step is you're going to work with our transaction coordinator and me to negotiate repairs, whatever that might be, right? So yes, the photo can be whatever you want. It can be a photo of, you know, the team. It can be a photo of that specific person that they're meeting. I don't think that right now, as far as I've been told, there is not a limit to the number of steps. So you could have a listing setup that's 27 steps and you're just kind of checking them all off. Now here's the deal, guys. Remember, they're going to have your app. So if you sell them on the app and the guide, you've got to make sure that you're coming into the opportunity seller profile and changing that. Robert, I'm not 100% sure. Someone asked me that yesterday, and I need to go and do my own guide and have it go through. I believe that they do get a notification on the app. I 100% know that the check mark is there. So the next step that they are working towards is actually steps that you can link to opportunity stages. So you can say, hey, when I move this opportunity from this stage to this stage, I want this guide step to be checked. So that's on the horizon, but not close horizon. So don't wait for it. Start doing it right now. But in the future, that's something that could be happening for us to make it a little more automated and a little bit easier. But for right now, you need to make sure that you're coming into the opportunity, clicking on seller or buyer profile, and then checking off the steps as you do each one of them, so that they don't call and say, hey, I thought we got the appraisal yesterday, but I'm looking at my phone and it says we're still waiting on it. Which is it? You don't want to look bad as far as that goes, right? So that's the guide, how you modify the card image, the card title, the card subtitle, workspace. Again, remember, that's all underneath consumer. And if you're moving them through the guide, you're going to want to be in their actual opportunity, their opportunity card. That's where seller profile exists. So here is the consumer applet, and then the guide builder is where you can start going through building out those stages and, or excuse me, those steps is what we call them in the guide, changing the photo, changing the information, making sure it's customized to just you, right? Yes, great point. So Kathy said, can you customize where they go? Kathy, these 6 little buttons, if you click, you can actually drag and change the order. So when you create those new ones, they're automatically going to show up at the bottom, but you would just grab onto them and start moving them up and dropping them wherever they end up going. So that is the guide process. Let's talk about sharing your app just in general. So first thing is you want to be able to easily access your actual link to your app. Okay, and that is found again underneath the consumer applet. So we're still in consumer. You can see it up here, consumer. It's the second to last one. And from any one of these 3 pages, you're always going to have site and app settings at the top right. So you want to click on site and app settings. And it's going to give you several tabs across the top of the page. The second one over is called URLs. Just as soon as it loads, we're going to click on the URLs tab. And you'll see once we click on this tab, as we scroll down just slightly, it's going to tell us what our actual text link is. And let me click on URLs, there it goes. So you can see this is my app URL, app.kw.com / and then KWTYRWV. These links are case sensitive. So if you're sharing them with people, you want to make sure that the address is lower than the / and then that the code is upper. Okay, so it has to be exactly the way that it is here. If they are typing it in for some reason, you gave it to them over the phone and they're not capitalizing it, it's not going to work. They're just going to get a non-branded app that they would then download. So make sure 100% that if you are sharing it, you make sure that they know that it is case sensitive. This is the app text code. Basically, you would send a text to 87778 with this code. I'll be honest with you guys, most people, they mess this up. That's just the reality, like the whole text code thing. More often than not, I see people trying to put this in as a contact and then they text this number to this person and they just get confused and overwhelmed and it just kind of, I don't know. So Sharmila, if you're in command, you want to go to the consumer applet and then click on site and app settings and then URLs. And you'll find this page that we're looking at right now. So this is how you can manually share, right? You could just copy either one of these 2. And then if you're sending out an email, or if you're having a chat with somebody, or maybe you're on Facebook or whatever messenger, there'd be an easy way to share those codes with them. In addition, you've got a couple of other options. So the first one is there's actually a smart plan that has been built out for sharing your app. And it's called Promote My App. So if you don't have that, if you come into your smart plans and you don't see Promote My App, then you want to come into the library and look for the Promote My App smart plan. So for me, it shows up as the top card. I think these cards all show up the same way in everyone's command, but I'm not 100% sure. So just look for the one that says Promote My App. You can click on View Steps, and you'll see it's going to start off by actually sending an email to the client. Guys, if I'm going to put anyone on any smart plan that involves any email or text, I typically put myself on it first. That way I can then see what the email looks like, right? Same thing for monthly neighborhood nurture or biweekly neighborhood, like any of those that have an open house plan. I like to put myself on it first just so I can see what the email looks like when it comes into my email box. So I recommend doing that. And then it's going to delay 1 day, and then it's going to send out a text. Now, if you have Twilio connected, it will automatically fire that text on your behalf. Twilio is the program that we use to connect to command that sends out automated texts for us. It is not free, but it is extremely cheap, meaning it's less than 1 cent per text that is either being sent out or coming back. You can see there's the text. It's going to delay 3 days, and then it's going to send a second text. Both times it's sending your branded app link out in the text. Once you've added this smart plan to your smart plans by clicking on Add Smart Plan, you can see that it'll show up in your list. And then if for any reason, guys, you say, hey, you know what, that text is all fine and well, but it's not exactly how I'd like it. If you're looking at yours right now, you're going to see that this was a period. It says, did you see that a neighbor listed a home in your area, period? Guys, I am the product of 2 elementary educators. My mom was a principal and a librarian. My dad was an assistant principal, or my mom was a teacher and a librarian. My dad was an assistant principal and a principal. Like grammar is just, I was the high school newspaper editor as a sophomore, and then again as a junior and a senior. So it's my big thing. I went in and changed this. You may want to change more. Oops, I just actually moved it. So you may want to change the sentence. You may want to add a little bit. You may want to, right? So you have the ability to come in and change what these texts actually say. And then once they're saved, you can just click on the check mark, and then that has changed that smart plan for you. Paula, you're going to see those responses for Twilio text coming back into your command platform. So you'll get a Kelly alert, and then you'll actually, your bell will have a little red dot. And when you click on it, you'll see that they responded. You can also see the response within their actual contact record. So when you dive in their contact on the right-hand side, you'll see the response to those texts. So this is a quick and easy way to get your contacts on a smart plan that's being sent out so that they can start downloading the app from there. I did have one question. Someone said, well, if you send them the email and they download the app right then and there, does the system know that not to send these texts? It doesn't. So it's still going to send the texts. If someone called me and said, dude, you send me an email and then you text me about downloading the app, I would just play dumb, honestly. I would just be like, oh, so sorry, I forgot you already got it, and disregard that text. And then I would go take them off of, right, the smart plan so they didn't get the second text. Kimberly, no, this is not a smart plan that requires their neighborhood to be added. So you can add it to people that don't have an address. Twilio said you can get Twilio, Lori, from within your settings. So when you click on the settings menu, Twilio is one of those options. If you haven't connected, you would just say connect account. If you hadn't created one, you would go through the process of creating that account from the settings menu. They're going to charge you $20 to start. As you send out those texts or receive those texts, they're kind of working their way down to $10. Just like the toll tag, as soon as you hit 10 bucks, they're going to charge you $10 and whatever 7 cents and charge you back up to 20 bucks. So that way you always have that kind of revolving amount in your actual app. Twilio allows you to send text via smart plans, send text via contacts, and you can also bulk text up to 50 people at one time. And it sends out 50 individual texts to all of those people by you sending it one time. So it's a pretty cool program. I would definitely look into it if you're not familiar with Twilio. The last way that you can share your app is actually through social. So you can come into campaigns, which is the megaphone here. And as long as you have gone into the settings of your KW Command account and connected your Facebook and your Twitter accounts, so you can connect those actually in your settings, then you have the ability to start posting information about your app on your social media business pages. So I can click on social posts up here at the top. So I clicked on campaigns, which was the megaphone. Then I clicked on social posts. As I scroll down here on the right-hand side, you can see what we call quick posts. These are posts that have already been created for you. The photo is there, the text is there. All I have to do is click on this arrow and it's going to bring up the post. It already has the text filled in. If I don't like this text, I can change it. But if I'm just not good with Facebook or I don't know what to say, right? You've heard that before. Well, here, don't worry about it. Somebody in marketing already said this is what you should be saying and created the text for you. They've already uploaded, a professionally designed photo with information. Your DBA needs to be in here if it's not already. But then I can say, all right, cool. Do I want to schedule this post? And if so, when do I want that to come out? You see, you can set a date and a time, or I can publish it immediately. Here's the other cool thing is that there are two here. So here's one, here's a second one. However, if I click on shuffle, you'll see, well, there's a new one. And then there's a new one. Both of these are new. All right. And then two new ones. And I can just keep clicking on shuffle and you'll see it's going to go through a variety of social posts for you. I would definitely make sure that you shuffle until you get this one. This is the app video. I'll play the first 10 seconds or so. If you're at Family Reunion, you probably saw that video, right? They played that several times. Here's the cool thing. One, Facebook social posts are getting better traction when they include video versus a static photo. That's based upon Facebook's algorithm just preferring video over static images. So if you're using this post, you're most likely going to get a little more traction because it includes the video and it's a really professionally well done video that you didn't have to do anything to create, right? You just get access to it automatically. So same process, I can just click on this arrow and instead of it being a photo, it's actually the video. It's got information in here. Look, it's even got little, what do we call these? Emojis. And then I can come in and say, okay, do I want this to go out on my Facebook page, my Twitter account, or both. It defaults on the video to publishing immediately, but I do have the ability to also schedule the video. I can click on the calendar and then say, when do I want this one to go out? Guys, if you're not posting to your business pages, why did you create it in the first place? Right? And I say that with love, and I'm as guilty as anyone. If you go look at my Facebook business page, I can't tell you the last time I posted on it, especially now that I'm not doing active production. Right now, my business is based purely on agent referrals, past client referrals, and then my sphere. So be good about posting, especially when you're in active production, about posting on your business accounts. I would recommend that you spend 30 minutes once a week. So time block it literally in your calendar, and then come in here to the social posts and just schedule 3 or 4 to happen that week. And then next week, schedule 3 or 4 to go out that week. And guys, don't worry about if week 3, you're scheduling the same post that you had during week 1. The Facebook algorithm does not put your post in front of all of your friends and fans. It chooses who's going to see what. And I can almost guarantee you that the same people don't see the same thing every time, unless it's like your mom and she's your only friend and your only fan and she sees everything you do, right? I say that joke because my mom literally has like 17 Facebook friends. So she sees every single thing that I post because the algorithm says, well, we don't have a whole lot to show you today, so we're going to keep showing you the stuff Marty's doing. But anyone that has a large number of friends, obviously they can't see everything all the time. So don't worry about posting the same things, just keep posting, right? The key is being consistent. And you don't have to think about it every day. Sit down 20 minutes that day and then just schedule the posts for the rest of the week. And then you're done. It's set it and forget it for that week. And then next Tuesday morning, whatever time you do it, schedule the post for the rest of the week. So it's a quick and easy way to make sure that you're getting your app out into people's hands. So that is how to share it manually, right? So we saw the text code and we saw the URL link, how to go through smart plans and share it that way. And then obviously now in social posts, how to send it out via a social post so that people are seeing it on your social profiles. If you want to know who has downloaded your app, you can come into contacts and there's actually a new filter. So if I click on filters and then click on branded to me in this bottom right-hand corner, I can choose yes, and then apply, and it's going to show all the people that are branded to me, right, that are my contacts that have downloaded my app. Now, as last time I checked, these are new contacts. So if you're sending this to somebody that's already in your database and they download the app, you're not going to get the check mark. They're working on configuring that so that that could happen, but essentially these would all be new people to my database that downloaded my app. When they download your app using your app text link code, or whether they got it from texting the actual code, when they put in that contact information, they're putting in their name, their email address. That contact then shows up in your command, and you're going to get an alert that says so-and-so has registered on your site. There's also several other really cool things that are coming out with the next release. I'm going to pull up the slide real quick so you can see that information. Give me 1 second to get there. Whoops, wrong one. So the next release for the app should be happening within the next couple of weeks. I know the date that they are pushing for. However, it does take time for the actual app stores to push through, right? So they can send the release to Google and Apple's, the people that do the apps. I don't know who they're called, but you know what I'm talking about. However, they have to be reviewed. The app has to be reviewed, and then it gets pushed through so that consumers can actually then update the app. So it should be happening, as they're telling us, within the next couple of weeks. Pay attention is all I can say, because I'm pretty sure that it's going to be all over the place. So that way you can basically see, okay, cool, I've been paying attention. Now all of a sudden it's up and running. I can go download the new one. You're not going to download it. You're just going to update. If your phone is set for automatic updates, you may be one of the first people that sees it, because all the rest of us are attempting to catch up. A couple of questions real quick. Lori will be yes, I am recording this, and I will send it to your leadership so they can share it with you guys. It's probably, I've been having some trouble with Zoom downloading the link and then sending it, the quality. So typically what I do is I just upload it to my YouTube channel, and then I'll send you the link so you can watch it on YouTube. So hopefully that helps. Janice, if I shared my app to someone in another state, will I be able to find them a referral through the app? You're going to have to find you're not going to find the referral through the app because the app is a consumer app, right? So it is not an agent app. However, you could find a referral partner through the command platform in the referral applet. You can go look for an agent from there. So if you need more help on that, is it Frank? I think Frank is your tech driver there in your market center. I'm sure that he can help you with that. And if not, I can send you a video link if you email me on how to find referral partners. A couple of you said that you're having troubles with your code. I would do a refresh on that screen, and that way you can see what's happening there. Lori, we answered that just a little bit earlier. When they ask your agent, it's going to come into your command. You're going to get an alert in command and an alert on Kelly as well. Let's see, when you were showing us the video to send for our app, I thought I saw a button for custom. Are we able to see a custom video for this? No, that 2-minute video is created by the video team at Keller Williams. So you're not going to be able to customize it. You can customize the text that goes out on the post, but you can't change the video. Jonna, sometimes you have to shuffle like once and it shows up, and then sometimes you have to shuffle like 10 times for it to show up. I don't know the mix there, but usually I've done this class now multiple times, and sometimes I'm clicking like 10 times and then the video pops up. So just keep clicking on shuffle, and then the video will eventually show up as one of the 2 that you can choose from. When the new app update comes down the pipe, these are some of the things that you're going to be able to start seeing within your command platform for the contact record of the actual consumer using your app. 1, if they're searching for a home, you're going to see their search activity. So you'll actually see, okay, cool. They're searching for a 4-bedroom plus 3-bathroom plus, half acre, 250 to 450, and they drew, whatever it may be. So you'll start to see some of that criteria. I think that's important because how many times have you guys gone on a buyer consult and then all of a sudden things change? And you're like, wait a minute, I thought you said you wanted to be under 250, and now you're sending me properties that are listed at 300. Right? So that's a way that you can basically say, okay, cool, looks like their criteria is changing. You'll be able to see when they registered. So registered on an agent site, that's the one thing you can see right now is when they registered. You'll be able to see if they viewed a neighborhood. So you saw 2 different ways that we viewed a neighborhood, either searching by that neighborhood and actually clicking on it, or when we were in the actual listing itself, we clicked on the neighborhood and we got that page in the app with all the neighborhood information. We'll be able to actually see when they view one of those neighborhoods, it'll tell you the neighborhood name and it'll link to that neighborhood so that you can then get more information about the neighborhood yourself. So if they're looking at a neighborhood that you're not familiar with, you could then dive into that neighborhood and get more information. When they create a collection, you'll be able to actually see when they create that collection. And then Raj, to answer your question at the bottom, you can actually see, okay, it'll show the listings that are in their collections. So the agents can finally see what listings the client is actually favoriting within the app. You can see if they edit their collection, right? What happens if they're editing to the collection? If they view just a specific listing, that's going to show up, right? And so they're actually going to be able to see their listing address right then and there. And then if they complete a guide builder step, so they actually have the ability within the guide to check off one of the steps. You'll get an alert that they've checked off one of the steps. Sometimes they're just playing, but if they actually think that they've completed a step and we haven't completed that step, you might be able to call them and talk to them about that. With regards to all of this activity, guys, there's 2 different schools of thought. You got to decide which one you're going to do, but don't do the non-school. So here's the 2 schools of thought. The first one is, especially if they're using it as a buyer, during the buyer consultation, you talk to them about the app and you sell them really on the app and all the cool things that it can do that we've just spent the last hour and a half talking about. And you let them know. And the best part is anytime that you are looking in a neighborhood or creating a collection or viewing the listing, I'll be able to see that on my side. And so that way I can do a little more research and I can be prepared for you to say, yes, that's the home we want to see, or no, we don't, etc. So it's cool that I actually can see everything you're doing on the app. You're letting them know in advance that you can see what they're doing on the app, okay? The other thing is you play dumb. You see them look at a home, a listing, they create a favorite and add it to their favorite collection. And you call them and you say, hey, so my wife and I were just driving around today and we drove by this home that was for sale and I looked it up and you know what? I think it might be a perfect fit for you. I remember during the buyer consult, you said you wanted 4 bedrooms, 3+ baths, half acre between 250 and 450, near Lander, and I think this house might be a perfect fit. It's listed on 123 Main Street. And what does the client say? Oh my gosh, I was on your app this morning and I actually saw that one for sale too, and I actually favorited it. I want to go see it. And you're like, great, you want to see it this afternoon or tomorrow morning? So you kind of play dumb with the fact that, oh, I already knew you favored that. But here's what I would not recommend. So do one of those two things, but don't do this. Don't call them without them knowing and say, hey, I saw you were on your phone last night at 2:30 in the morning. Must have been a rough night. Looks like you favored a couple properties. You want to go see them? Also, I saw you created that collection that says dream home. Do you just not like the home you live in now? Oh, by the way, I saw that collection that says get away from my wife, whatever, right? The things you don't want them to be surprised about the fact that you can see what they're doing in their phone. Obviously, you can only see what they're doing within the app, but some people get real nervous about that stuff, guys. They're like, oh my gosh, now you got all my passwords, my usernames, and then all of a sudden something happens on their phone and they blame you, right? So one of two schools of thought. You tell them I can see everything you're doing, or you don't tell them and you play dumb. But I would not call them and say without them knowing, hey, I saw what you were doing, because that can freak them out. One new update that's coming, and this has also been posted on some of the Facebook groups, so this may not be new, but it's the ability for the agent, or the consumer, to actually request a scheduled tour from the app. So in the next release, when they're looking at a specific listing, you can see here, there's going to be a new button. Instead of just ask agent, there's a button that says schedule tour. They can request a tour and they're going to give you 3 dates. Hopefully, they only have to put in 1, but they can give you up to 3 dates if they want to see the house, and then what time of day or night, right? Morning, afternoon, or evening on each one of those days that they want to see it. And then they can say whether they want to schedule that in person or via live video. Obviously, given COVID, a lot of times consumers don't want to drive and be out, but if it's a vacant home or home that you've secured permission to tour, then you could tour the home with them via a video chat method. And you can see if they choose live video, it's going to give them 5+ other choices of video platforms to use. Now, the tour is not going to happen within the app. You would have to go and download a separate platform, whether that was Zoom, FaceTime, Google Hangouts, Messenger, Google Duo, depending on what kind of phone you have, they have. You're going to communicate offline and then figure out what platform you're going to use so that you can do that tour. But the request, when it comes in, again, just like all of this, you're going to get a notification in Kelly and a notification within your KW Command platform. That bell will have the red dot, and you'll be able to see, okay, cool, they requested a video tour. Here's the address. If I click on view request, then I can see here's the video tour request, the address. Here are the 3 dates they're interested in seeing and what time of day they want. Here are the platforms they're requesting, and here's what the note will actually say. So they can leave you a note when they request it, kind of talking more about the property or whatever it may be. So that is coming, hopefully within the next couple of weeks, guys. Again, I don't like to give any specific dates. The release is being pushed to the app stores very, very soon. And I've been told it can take anywhere from 3 to 10 days for the app stores to actually approve the new update. So keep your eyes peeled. Obviously, I'll be sending out that information via email to all of your leadership team members so they can then send it to you. I guarantee if you pay attention to any of the Facebook groups, you're probably going to see that listed in the Facebook groups as well. So that's what we've got for today, guys. I'd love to take any questions you may have, comments, concerns, anything that's going on. Christine, I don't think it has anything to do with command, Christine. It has to do with your phone because it's pulling off of the GPS on your phone. So I might look into the settings based upon your actual phone. I might look into, do you use Waze? Do you use Google Maps? Does the GPS work in those platforms? Because again, right, you saw on mine, it literally dropped right where I was. So it may be something, I don't know if you're out in the country and maybe the signal isn't as strong, but typically it's pretty darn accurate. So Diane, I don't know if we ever got your question answered, but if you want to get with me offline, let me know. Yay, Christine got it to work. Good news. Glad to hear it. I think that we have answered all the questions that were put into the chat. But if you guys have any more, you can also feel free to raise your hand if you just want to have a conversation with me. I think we covered all of the questions. Let's say there's one new. Thanks, Raj. I appreciate that. So I will get this video out to you guys. So if you want to, you can rewatch it. If you were here and your team wasn't, or your partner or whoever you work with wasn't, you can share the YouTube link with them. They can watch the video, kind of catch up. But get excited, guys. As with all things Keller Williams, the tech just keeps getting better and better and better and better and better. So I think the consumer app is already amazing. Just make sure that you are getting your consumers onto the app using all those selling points, if you will, that we talked about, right? The ability to search by landmark, the ability to search by neighborhood, the links to KW Mortgage, Keller Mortgage, and KW Covered, the ability to dive into actual neighborhood data, all of those types of things. Alex, does your website need to be set up before we set the app up? I don't believe so, but I would recommend that your website be set up. I'm just gonna be honest with you. But I don't believe that the two really correspond, because this is the command platform working with the the consumer app versus the command platform working with your agent site. So those are two kind of different modules, if you will. But my recommendation, of course, being the command guy that I am, is to do both, right? Get your site set up and then get your app set up as well. So your homework is obviously make sure you got the app, play with the app. Let's do some searches. Let's get into the guides, make sure you understand what the guide says, and then customize guides should you choose to. Let's get that smart plan running for a lot of your contacts, and then start posting on your social media so that you can get people to download your app that way as well. Right now, Andrea, no. Notifications is something I always joke when I'm on a Zoom. I have two big drums that I beat every day when I'm talking to labs and KWRI. This one is all about permissions, right? The ability to get a text notification or email notification to my phone when something happens. We're working on it. This one is team permissions and, you know, kind of set up there too. So we're working on both of these things really, really hard. But as of today, that's April 22nd, it is not possible to get notified via email for a lead registered through the app. It's going to come through your Kelly, and it's going to come through your command platform. So if that's it, guys, as always, I hope that you are staying safe, staying healthy, that the quarantine is going well, and I can't wait till Q3 so I can get back up there to Austin and spend some time with you guys in person, giving handshakes and hugs and getting to know you all better. So as always, Frank is an amazing, I'm pretty sure it's Frank that's in your market center, that's doing a great job there. So if you have any questions that are tech related, of course, you can always run those through him. And then if he needs anything, he always can reach out to me as well. And you've got an amazing leadership that's really diving in on command as well. So, you know, Frank and the entire team there, Michelle, Melanie, I know these guys are all spending time in command and learning it just like you guys are, and really working it for their businesses just like you are working it for yours. So hope you have a great day, and look forward to talking to you soon. Take care, guys.